Hi everybody, I'm Trish Christ. NECAT and our super crew of teenagers are here today with the Nashville Ballet. Artistic Director and CEO Paul Vasterling is going to show us around and tell us all the cool things they do with adults and children in our community.
Hi Trish, hi everybody. Can't wait to show you what Nashville Ballet does here at our studios. Come on in.
Let's do it. Thank you.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville. Es nuestro Nashville.
We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
Well, I would say, first of all, it's not really what you expect. You know, Nashville has an amazingly fine ballet company of professional dancers, artists from all over the world who are really top-notch, and that we present work that goes all the way from, you know, what you would consider classical ballet, the Nutcracker or a fairy tale ballet, to the music of Johnny Cash and the music of our city. And then secondly, we have an amazing school where we produce dancers of all types, and we help people to get in touch with their dancer self and their artist within through our teaching.
There's so many different things to talk about, Paul. Let's start with purpose. What's the purpose of the Nashville Ballet?
Gosh, we have a really strong mission. We create, perform, teach, promote dance as an essential and inspiring element of our community. That's our purpose. I mean, it's embodied in that mission that was formulated probably 8 or 9 years ago, you know, really encapsulated in that sentence. And I think it really works.
It does. What are the verbs again? Let's pull them out. Educate, or
So create, perform, teach, and promote.
create, obviously. Perform, of course.
Yes.
Teach and promote.
Yes.
Talk about the teach part of that. Who we're teaching, me, the audience member?
Well, yes, of course. There's so much teaching that goes on. You know, I think that every artistic entity, performing arts entity, is teaching the audiences about, you know, the art that they're presenting. And part of my job as artistic director is to program to, not in a pedantic way, but in a way of introducing and bringing forth different kinds of art and the kind of scope of what we can do. More literally, actually, the ballet, Nashville Ballet, has a school of Nashville Ballet, and it is a big part of our work in the community. We have, gosh, 1,200 students on, you know, in and out on a regular basis, and students from all over the country and the world actually come to Nashville to study with us in the summer, and all of that work, and we teach from ages 2 all the way up. All of that work kind of enlivens the company artists, who then, and both the company artists, the main company, and then we have a second company who will go out into the community or do performances and enrich our community.
For those who don't know, myself included, sort of, let's talk about the structure of the ballet.
Sure.
So there's artists and companies, more than one company, and so forth.
Sure, that's a really great question. It's
It's a
bigger
lot.
than one would think, actually. It's bigger than one would think. We have a first company, that's the professional company, and they are contracted. It's their full-time job, professional ballet dancers, and they work all year. It's an, you know, 9 to 6 job, except when we're in performance, and, you know, they work Monday through Friday, regular, get paid for it. Just below that, we have a company of what I think of as aspirants or trainees, and that's called Nashville Ballet 2. And those are the folks who are usually between 18 and 22 years old.
Okay.
Many of them have come specifically to Nashville to study with us, and that is where, if I'm looking for first company members, professional company members, is where I look. So to that end, about 70%, more or less, of our first company are folks who have come through that Nashville Ballet 2 program. So, you know, whereas Nashville Ballet 1 or the first company is doing all of our performances at TPAC, or the majority of our performances, Nashville Ballet 2 goes out into the community and does them pretty much everywhere, in schools and community centers, and different kinds of work, children's ballets, ballets for adolescents, ballets, activities for seniors, all kinds of stuff. So that Nashville Ballet 2 is it's a training ground for these dancers. I always say it gives them their chops. I mean, if you can do a really great show in a school cafeteria, you're for sure going to be able to do a great show when we get into a stage like, you know, the wonderful TPAC stage that we have. So below that is our school, and there are levels that go all the way up to when you're about 18, so 3 to 18.
Would that be an after-school program?
Yes, most of those are after-school programs on Saturdays, a lot of work on Saturday. And, you know, the students, it notches up as they get a little older, as they get more into the work. You know, as they get their levels go up, they do more and more work. It's a rigorous training program. The really great part is that you're teaching the student how to be expressive. It really is in its essence about art and about expression and about, I mean, I think that's what Nashville Ballet is about too, is about being able to express something with your body, you know, through your body that is not expressible in any other way, you know, poetry of the body. So it's this wonderful mixture of athleticism and intellect and musicality and poetry that we kind of come to, that is part of our school. I don't want to leave out, we're very community minded. You know, we believe that we're really, you know, we make this ballet company as part of this community. So we have classes for adults as well. They're ballet classes, and there's this really great program that we just started last fall called Dance Fix, and it's a program that we got out of Cincinnati, but it's really just people get to dance to fun music, and it's exercise, but it has an artistic connection to it.
I am not well versed in ballet, but my impression is that it's part discipline and part freedom.
I love that question because particularly ballet in the world of dance, you know, there's all kinds of dance. Ballet is, you know, sort of strict in form, right?
Okay.
It's like sort of like iambic pentameter, you know, the language of Shakespeare. There's a form that you have to put it into with all of its 5 positions and all of its arm position. It's very, once you master the form, yes, there's immense freedom in it. And here's the great thing is when you see something that is formful, a work of art that has form and structure to it, and yet the feeling is coming through it, that's when sublime hits, you know. So sometimes it's hard. It's a journey to get to the place of being completely free within the context of the balletic form. That's what all the training is for. But when you get there, you can knock it out of the park.
So what I hope is that someone, or that several someones watching us right now on television, I hope they've never been to a ballet, right? I
Yep.
want this to be new people for
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
And so with those folks in mind, when you say things like gestural and positions, and what do we mean by that for someone who has no concept of what the parts are that come together to make?
Well, maybe here's a good analogy is if you think of the body as being like a musical staff, you know, it's divided.
Like sheet music.
Like sheet music, like a piece of music, and then the notes are our arms and our legs and our heads and the grace notes, and that's how the sort of balletic language can kind of work. There's specific kinds of rhythms and clarity about the positions that help. So if you think of it that way, it's like, it's not quite mathematical because we're humans and we're all so different, but our bodies are so different, but there's a little bit of that in it. So it's, you know, positions of the head and the arms and the aggregate of it, you know, when you start putting the positions together and stringing them together, not unlike stringing together some music for a melody, it begins to speak beyond these singular notes.
That's
Does
awesome.
that help?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you add a second instrument.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have a guitarist doing his sheet music,
That's
and you
right.
have a bass player doing
Yeah.
his sheet
I
music.
mean,
And
I mean, I'm a choreographer at my base, and I totally think in musical terms. I came from music originally, but when I'm choreographing, I love working with groups, and I'm orchestrating. I'm literally taking different bodies and playing them against each other, and different thematic elements that are embodied in the movement, and playing and using counterpoint and unison and all that stuff. Just like any kind of composition, even in theater or film, it's the same thing. It's all the same kind of ideas.
To me, the way ballet is portrayed, or ballet dancers are portrayed in movies and TV and so forth, you mentioned that you became obsessed with it. That seems to be a through line, at least in stories. If you are into ballet, you are into ballet.
It is an all-encompassing endeavor. If you want to really excel at it, if you want to really get yourself up to the level of being able to use your body like a really fine-tuned instrument. Again, I usually use the analogy of, the paradox that we have is that we are musicians, or body musicians, but our instrument is embodied as our own body. So you have to constantly take care of that. You have to eat correctly, and you have to be in training all the time, not only ballet classes, but cross training, and the men do weightlifting and a lot of Pilates and stuff, because of the nature of choreography these days too. So all of that, you have to keep your instrument tuned, and so that's why you really have to be obsessed with it. The obsession that is sometimes portrayed in film is a cliche. I mean, that of course exists. Stereotypes come from somewhere usually, but that's sort of an exception. You want, and particularly I want, people who have lives, who have interests outside of ballet, because like any artistic endeavor, you want them to bring something to the table. They need to have something that they can play about, not just sit there and do steps. You want to have something that they are going to want to express, and that comes from being a true human being, a full human being that experiences life.
My name is Sharon Mahoney, and I'm the Director of Artistic Operations. When we get ready to start a performance series, we, of course, I think everyone understands that there's the dancers and most likely the ballet masters, who are sort of like coaches for the dancers, getting them ready and getting them prepped as they get ready to go to stage. But at the same time, there are a myriad of production elements that go on behind the scenes for weeks. So costume shop starts working on fittings or designing or creating, and possibly set pieces are going on in our warehouse. There could be welding at any minute in the warehouse. And all of those elements are working their way toward the stage. So it takes us about 6 weeks prior to going into the theater at TPAC before we put on a main stage production, and then a week to tech it. So at the very last, we're gonna layer in the musicians, Nashville Symphony, and our conductors, and all the lighting comes in at the very end for the dancers. So it is a multitude of layers, and I think one of our guest musical artists this past year said it best when they said, "Wow, this is quite a big thing you got going on here." Alongside the ballet company here, we have School of Nashville Ballet. And School of Nashville Ballet is our training ground, and also a place for the community to engage with us on a different level. So it's not just a place to take a potential ballerina and groom them all the way up to the stage. Yes, of course we do that, but it is almost more importantly a place where people can really feel that sense of movement and expression that the professionals are allowed to do all the time in their daily life. Our school classes can be a really great place for a mom to get me time and escape from everything. They can come take a ballet class, or we even have an amazing program called Dance Fix, which is just almost like being at a club, but getting a workout at the same time with a whole bunch of other people that are just trying to get away and get some energy out and feel that expression. One of the things that we're really excited about when we offer the different classes, especially when we have students who do want to study in our academy, and they study sometimes upwards of 6 days a week, it's not just the studying to become a professional dancer, but it's all the other life skills and the other benefits that they're getting out of really doing artistic education on a daily basis. People who study dance have a higher level of problem-solving skills. They have a greater appreciation for creative thinking. So the students that study here, we hear back from their academic schools that they see them excel in those areas, and it really leads to pushing them forward. Their confidence level is really terrific. When you're able to step on stage, even as a student, in front of an audience of 500 people, then you're not as afraid to get up in front of your class and do a presentation, or even in college or wherever it would take you in the future.
Well, my name is Shabazz Ujima, and I am a contemporary teacher, and I also work in the community engagement division. As a teacher, I come in and I teach contemporary dance in a ballet school, which in the beginning was hard, because coming in and informing dancers, sharing with dancers other ways of moving besides classical ballet was difficult at first, because that's typically what they do. But bringing in something that causes them to move differently and oftentimes counter to how they're dancing, it was somewhat difficult, but it's all movement. And so for me, that's been the greatest opportunity for me, is just to share with them the fact that in the world of dance, that there's many different ways. And so I love that, being able to teach them and share with them just many different ways of moving. Movement has been a vocabulary for me to express myself, and so dance has been something, even if it didn't have a vocabulary, if it wasn't ballet, modern, or jazz, dance has just been a way that I've been able to express myself and communicate, and that's been happening since I believe I was in my mother's womb. You have your own way of moving, and what's beautiful about you is the fact that no one else in the world can move the way that you can. And what I love about Nashville Ballet is the fact that this is a place where it is embraced, that you are who you are and that you don't have to be like anyone else. When you come into this building, you are respected, you are honored, you are allowed to just be who you are. And this is a community where individuality is definitely embraced and celebrated. Dance is for everyone. And so then when I go out, and I'm thankful to represent Nashville Ballet in the community engagement division, is that they see people that look like them. And that we know that dance, again, is for everyone. It doesn't matter about your socioeconomic class. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from. It's all about the spirit. And that's one thing that I really love about this organization, and especially working in community engagement, is that it really is about spirit. It's not about being anything else but just you. One of my biggest goals is that I create an environment that is safe for everyone, and that when anyone comes into the space, they know that, one, they're safe, and then it's a non-judgmental place, and it is a place for them just to express themselves.
My name is Kayla Rouser, and I am a company member here at Nashville Ballet. You know, our average day as a Nashville Ballet company member is something that I think a lot of people are surprised by. A lot of people don't realize that it's a full-time job, and we all live here in Nashville. And so my day usually starts about 6:30, and I get up and get ready at my house for the day, and I'm to the studio around 8 or 8:15, and my ballet class that we have every day begins at 9:15. It's an hour and a half. And then we have a 15-minute break before we go into a 3-hour chunk of rehearsals. And then we have an hour lunch break, and then we have another 3 hours of rehearsals. So we're here from 9:15 to 6, Monday through Friday. And that's an average week. If we go into a performance week, it's a whole different ballgame. We are at TPAC, generally downtown in Nashville, and we are there from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. just teching the show, getting everything ready, the lights, just everything, every aspect of the production really fine-tuned before. So it's absolutely a full-time job. I think a lot of people don't realize how much goes into putting on a production as big as the ones that we're able to put on here. I think ballet is for everyone, regardless of how fancy you think you are as a person. I think it's something that everyone can relate to, and it may not be something that they physically feel like they could do, but the stories that we're telling and the emotion that comes across, it's not just a company of 24 people up on stage just kind of moving around. There's so much intent behind it, and for all of us, our goal is to connect with someone in the audience and for them to be able to see a little bit of themselves in us, whether that's what we look like, it's the story that we're telling, it's a folk tale from something that they knew growing up as a kid. Ballet is for everyone, absolutely.
So if folks are watching us right now and they think, you know, maybe I should check out the Nashville Ballet,
Yeah.
or maybe I want my child or my grandchild or myself to not just be in an audience, but to try to learn some things. What's the best gateway, metaphorically or literally? How do they get started?
Well, there's lots of different ways. I mean, the repertory of the company is incredibly varied. So it depends on your age, and you know your musical interest, or your a lot of is that because we start out with like big story ballets or big fairy tales that are for families, and you know, sort of an easy way in. There's a story to grab onto. Of course, we have Nashville's Nutcracker, which is one of our big performances, and a really great gateway for people to experience. It's unique to us. It's unique to our city, and it's also still, one would think of it as a traditional Nutcracker too.
And there are children, they're all age performers in that.
Yeah, I mean, our professional, it's sort of one of the biggest things that we do all year, in that our professional company is, you know, out in full force, and then the second company that I mentioned earlier, our Nashville Ballet 2, is in full, and then we have a youth cast usually of about 70 or so children of all ages who augment, you know, and do different roles in it. If you're an adult, you can go to beginning adult ballet classes if you want to experience the language, the basic tenets, the basic parts of the language. There are
Even if you've never danced before.
Yes, there are complete beginner classes for ballet with great teachers who really walk you through it, and it's very non-threatening.
And you can come in normal sort of
Yeah, you
workout
don't have to
attire.
you don't have to wear you don't have to wear a tutu. You don't have to wear tights if you're a guy. You can wear shorts. You can wear whatever you want to wear. It's not that it isn't intimidating. And then there are classes like I mentioned, Dance Fix, which is just really movement, and it's just people having fun moving, that you can do just to get in touch with your body and your dancer self. I think of it that way. I would challenge your viewers to really put aside their preconceived notions of what the word ballet or ballet means, because it's not what you expect. It really isn't. It can be just what you expect. Women in tutus, gorgeous women who have beautiful legs, and men in tights being athletic. It can be that, but it's so much more than that. It can be incredibly relevant and human, and connect to Nashville a lot through our music here. The great thing about this company, our Nashville Ballet, is that we use live music for every one of our performances, and you can't say that for other regional ballets.
Wow.
You know,
We take it for granted here, I guess.
Yeah, right. That's what's really great about our city, that we, as a company, have grabbed onto. What a wonderful! It's kind of a no-brainer for us, but we do take it for granted.
And what a special treat for them.
Yeah, I love that part of it too. I love the, you know, we talk a lot about art. Our art transforms. You know, one of our major values is that we believe in the transforming power of art. We believe that art can transform you in a moment, a little bit, or a lot, you know, in a moment, depending on, you know, how you view it and what you see.
Speed round, or a lightning round, as you
Okay.
just said. It's like the game we used to play when we were kids. I ask you a question and you give the
Right.
first answer.
Stream of consciousness.
Stream of consciousness,
Okay.
exactly. So here we go, speed round with Paul Vasterling.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
If you could dance with any artist from any time and place in the world, who would it be?
It would be, this is going to be crazy. Her name is Sadie Bo Harris, and she was a ballerina with Nashville Ballet, and she just retired a few years ago. She's like one of my favorites.
I love that.
She's an amazing dancer.
I hope she's watching.
Me too.
How old do you have to be to start ballet?
You can be any age. If you really want to start it and really have a professional career track, you would probably want to start it when you're, by the time you're 8.
Okay.
It's a young thing, but you can start at 3.
How old is too old to start ballet?
You're never too old to start it. We have classes for anybody at any age.
Finish this sentence. Ballet is.
Ballet is an incredibly expressive language of art.
What room do you laugh in at work?
The studio, all the time, with the dancers.
What room do you cry in at work?
The studio, all the time, with the dancers. Actually, that's the truth.
What word do you say more than any other word at work?
Good.
What emotion do you most want people to associate with Nashville Ballet?
Joy.
And what's your website?
NashvilleBallet.com.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks.